To be very honest, I am not a peathead, yet Lagavulin totally surprised me by its magical moments that it gave me. So, this is a distillery that I have fallen in love with. Not the things they make, but the distillery itself, actually, the buildings and the location and so on. It's a beautiful place to be. It's a beautiful place to just relax, and it was an awesome, awesome day there. So, what I did not know, if you look at the little logo, there's a bell at the top. And according to legend, here's the bell again, right outside of the distillery. Every time the taxman came, they would ring the bell. And what would they do with their pot stills? They would hide them, sometimes under the skirts of some women that had very, very big skirts, and sometimes they would actually put them in coffins and carry them around and have a funeral. And every time the taxman came, there were a lot of women with very, very wide skirts and a lot of funerals going on. I thought that story was absolutely fantastic. How true it is, our tour guide, Callum, said probably not, but hey, that's the way things are over on Isla. Sometimes the truth is a little bit bigger than, or fiction is a little bit better than the truth. Beautiful, beautiful location. So, what we did was we actually booked a totally normal tour, and then we booked the warehouse tour, and a picture is not allowed to be missing of us in front of Lagavulin. All right, so the very first thing on the tour they did is they took us into this, I'm going to call it a museum, where we saw this old fake oven where they had the tour, we had the peat, and they had that chariot and so on, and they talked a little bit about the process. Today, everything's made at Port Ellen, so, ha ha ha. So it was really not real, but at least we got to see that. It was a lot different than where we did Bowmore. We got to actually feed the fire with the peat ourselves. So this water source here is actually today still used for cooling water. If you see a little valve in the right hand corner down there, they extract cooling water there that they still use today. The real water they use for cutting the spirit is taken from a lake a little bit further away. All right, so the next place they take us to do is to view the mill. So this is, of course, the Portus mill. I'm still surprised about that wooden structure up above there that they still made. So everywhere I went, I found that Portus patent mill. So went bankrupt, of course, and every single place had that plate. Ronnie Lee, you can call the number if you want. He has now convinced both his sons to actually join in the business, which of course is very, very well paid, because if one of these mills breaks down, they need to go get set back up real quick because all the rest of the production process cannot happen. So, very reliable, and yet a very, very important part of that system. So then they took us into the mash tun, so you can see that there. They took us into the wash. Oh, here you can actually see how slow that arm was going through the mash there. My tour guide told me that that was probably after the third wash, and that was just to make sure that it didn't all cake up and clog everything. That's why they were slowly going through there. All right, so then after that, they took us over to the room where we have the washbacks, a total of six. So they are made from Oregon pine, and yet the Oregon pine was probably not from Oregon, but rather from Scotland. One of these was actually repaired or replaced recently, as you can see in the wood. What I thought was very funny is they were locked. And even my tour guide, his father was a stillman at Lagavulin, could not unlock them for us. The lights were on, everything you could have looked in there, but nope. They have a blade on the top that cuts off the foam. We have the ventilation to make sure the CO2 is taken out there. There's a little sensor there measuring something. I don't know if it's heat, CO2, or something else, so who knows. But there we have the washbacks, all six of them there. All right, so the one thing that's only missing now, of course, is then the famous owl. Why do they have an owl at Lagavulin? Look at that picture. to scare away the birds. So they keep the windows and the doors open, and birds like to go in there, and the owl keeps them away. Now, to be honest, I should not have this picture of the spirit still. I did not take this picture. One of the people in my group did. He actually was a little bit tagging behind, and then he was able to take pictures of the spirit still. Regulations, insurance, blah, blah, blah. Now you can hear the four spirit stills, the four stills, two spirit still, two watch stills here. So you hear always the hissing, which means they were actually on. So we're allowed to take pictures from the one side and from the other side. And that was it. So everything else was absolutely forbidden, and they were told not to do that. So the little black box down at the bottom is where they used to actually put the coal in there. So they used to be coal-fired. Now they're not. So after the tour, which was not fantastic, it was good, it was nice. We met once again here for a tasting. So we had the following 3 different bottles that we could try from. Look at those bottles there in the manager's room if you go through the hallway there. We had the Lagavulin 8 in cask strength, which was nice. We had the Jazz, and we had a double oaked, double cask. Now, I am not a Lagavulin drinker, sorry. I was the driver in that day, the designated driver, so I took out my samples again. Beautiful box, but they just wrote on there 1, 2, and 3. Not even wrote what was it. Oh well. So after that, we had our warehouse tour, and if you've ever been to Lagavulin and you know something about a warehouse, you will actually know something about this guy here. This is Iain McArthur. So let's watch him do his stuff here. So we have these big... I said sherry butts. He said, no, that's European oak. I said, but what was in the European oak before whiskey? I'm not allowed to say. I don't know myself. So he actually sucks on that, pulls that up there, and she was the assistant of the day. Very, very nice. And then she made sure that we had enough.
It's very light in colour. Never go with colour in whiskey, folks.
All right, very light in color. Never go by the color of a whiskey, folks, is what he said there. We can see that. So he is a character, to be very honest. I mean, this guy is fantastic. He's been in the business now for 40-some plus years, and he will continue just this year, according to what I know there. So we had the privilege of actually having a birthday boy on this tour here. And you'll see Iain actually pulling out some more here. This is 25-year-old Lagavulin cask strength. So he fills this up, and the guy whose birthday it was, Peter from Ireland, he was there with his wife, girlfriend, and Iain decided to give him a tiny little present. Now this little present consisted of a Glencairn all the way almost to the brim filled with this whiskey. I actually gave him a sample bottle because he didn't want to drink it all. He wanted to share something and take it with him. So look at this. So as soon as the Germans now quiet down, he's going to pour this.
I'll sing you happy birthday once these Germans get going. Right, are we ready to sing Peter happy birthday? Yeah. Alright, I'll start it off. Are you ready to sing? You look the part with that hat on you. I might get a loan of it. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Peter. Happy birthday to you. Hip hip. Hooray. That's not very good. Hip hip. Hooray. You're getting better.
So I asked Iain for a tiny little moment of his time, and this is what happened here.
There's plenty of room in Lagavulin for you. We've got plenty chairs and plenty of whiskey. Cheers.
So this is the cask that he used. This is the hammer that he used. Fantastic. I really enjoyed my time at the Lagavulin Distillery. This is the only distilleries I am going to actually give 2 videos to, I think. Alright, so we have the Malt Mill Bar. We went to after the tasting, the warehouse tasting. Beautiful location. Down below, they can actually hold other tastings that were not in the warehouse. So you just go up these steps to the right where the bathrooms. And actually, when I was there later on, I saw them set everything up for a nice tasting. Upstairs, you have like a bar situation. Behind me is the bar where you can order stuff. You have the nice little armchairs and that room. I was pleasantly surprised how beautiful it was. All right, here's the menu. You can see we had the 8-year-old, the 16-year-old, the 12-year-old. We had a couple jazz festivals with the Fashil 2021. We had the 25 and cast strength. So those are just dram prices. I mean, they are not cheap at all, right? So hey, I guess it was worth the money to actually go and do the warehouse tasting. If you want to just do a flight instead, you can do that. So we have different flights that are also possible, which I saw a couple people do, which is a great idea. Now, after the tour, we drove with the car a tiny little bit around the lagoon, is what I'm going to call the bay, and we went to the other side. And I mean, you just can't take a bad picture of Lagavulin. It looks like it's painted, doesn't it? I mean, there's canoes out there. You have the grass. You have the beautiful scenery. You have a nice little ruin you can go up to, castle ruins. I mean, I just thoroughly enjoyed my time at Lagavulin. And if you ever have the chance to visit Lagavulin, I would highly recommend it. Whiskey Jason here. Thank you very much for watching. What is your favorite Lagavulin?